Presented by the all-new 2016 Honda Pilot. Proud partner and official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Welcome to Rogers Center, and this is the spot to be if you're in Toronto. You got to be at the ballpark, and it's a packed house again tonight. The Cleveland Indians and Terry Francona are in town. Francona's in his third season as the manager of the Cleveland Indians, and lately his ball club has been playing good baseball. They just had a 5-0 homestand. They swept the Milwaukee Brewers and the Angels of Anaheim, so they are playing good baseball, and they got a good pitching staff. It's going to be a challenge for the Blue Jays. Top of the order, Jason Kipnis. When the Blue Jays saw the Indians in April, Kipnis was really struggling. They just put him up in the leadoff spot, and since then he has taken off. 8 for 17 for Kipnis against the Blue Jays. Ryan Rayburn, he's got great numbers against David Price, the night's Blue Jays starter. So he's in the lineup. He's 9 for 27, 333 average with 3 extra base hits, and he has a home run against David Price,
who will be making his 27th start of the season and 6th as a Blue Jay. You know, he's just a winner. When he pitches, his team is 19-7. When he starts the game, overall 13-4 with a 242 earned run average. He's faced the Indians 3 times this season. He's only given up 1 earned run over 21 in a third inning. The Blue Jays did a smart thing, I think, last start for Price. That was down in Texas. He was ahead 10-2 after 6 innings, and they took him out after 95 pitches. Didn't need to wear him down in that heat down in Texas, so he should be well rested for tonight's start.
The hope, of course, is that Price will pitch in to November, so you got to keep him as sharp as possible. Lefty on lefty, Jason Kipnis. He's had no problems against Price. He's got a 350 career average against David Price. Price is set. Here's the first pitch of the ball game. In there for a strike, and he hit the glove of Russell Martin. 27 degrees. It's a hot, muggy night here at Rogers Center. Good night to play baseball. The ball driven to left center. Pilar is back. He's going to play it off the wall. Kipnis is aboard with a leadoff double. He hit it hard. This is a good ball club, and don't look at their record. Right now, they're playing good baseball.
They're playing very good baseball. They've got the great pitching and a very good bullpen, and they can hit a little bit. They've always given the Blue Jays some trouble. You mentioned Kipnis has been hitting 350 against Price in his career. He sends that pitch off the base of the wall. Watch where it is. They want it down and away, and it's up and a little bit too close, and you can see Price shake his head saying, I made a mistake on that one.
Well, that's part of the Indians' mindset tonight against David Price.
Their mindset is you got to make him earn everything tonight, and when he makes a mistake, you got to take advantage of it, and that was a mistake.
Francisco Lindor, the rookie, a switch hitter batting right-handed against David Price, shows bunt and pops it over the screen out of play. Lindor, good-looking prospect. He is from Puerto Rico. He was the #1 pick of the Cleveland Indians. Off to a great start in his young career. He's just 21 years old. He bunts this one foul. Price took something off. And now David Price is ahead 0-2.
He didn't look very comfortable, did he, on those 2 bunts?
Right, he's done a good job this year. He's first in the American League in sacrifice bunts, and he hasn't played all season long. He's got 11 sacrifice bunts, so Terry Francona has used them a lot to move the runners along.
Trying to get up early. David Price had problems in the first inning in that last start down in Texas. Remember, he gave up a 2-run home run to Adrian Beltre. Gave up a couple of runs on 3 hits in that first inning, but that was it. Indians trying to get him early here.
Took a shot at that inside corner and missed. This has been a problem for the Blue Jays as a team all season long, giving up first inning runs. David Price has become a fan favorite very quickly here since joining the Blue Jays. This is his 6th start. Bouncing ball to second. Goins is going to third, and they almost had him, but it was a chancy play. And Donaldson got a glove on him but couldn't hold on to it as Goins threw it to third base. Lindor is aboard on the fielder's choice.
You know, you have to make these decisions very quickly. You can see Goins is up, anticipating a ball hit hard to him, and you got to tell yourself before that play happens, if it's hit hard to me, what am I going to do? And if he threw the ball on the fly, he was going to get Kipnis at third base. Heads up play by Goins, just he bounced the ball over to Donaldson.
Donaldson, anticipating that throw, moved inside the baseline to give Goins a good target. But now Michael Brantley, another tough out with runners at the corners and nobody out.
You know, we've been talking about Edwin being very hot. Michael Brantley's been very hot since the All-Star break also.
Ground ball. Goins comes after it and swipes at Lindor and makes a play. What a double play. Lindor can really run. Andy Fletcher called Lindor out. Goins tagged him as he was going by, and then Goins threw to first base to record the double play. Lindor ducked inside the baselines, but Goins was able to put the tag on him and then throw to first. Brad Mills, the bench coach for the Indians, is checking with the video room.
Andy Fletcher, the second base umpire, said Lindor was out of the baseline. That's why he called him out, not because he tagged him or he didn't tag him. Look at how aggressively Goins goes after him. You can see him right there saying you're out. And then when Lindor asked him why, he said you were way out of the base path. You can see he can't get back to the base in that line. So it's a double play for Goins, and a run will score.
Another terrific defensive play by the Blue Jays. A run comes in. Kipnis comes in to score. It's 1-0 Cleveland. The Indians have 3 switch hitters in their lineup, and their cleanup hitter, the first baseman, Carlos Santana, having a down year with the average, but he's productive. 15 homers and 66 ribbies for Santana. This is the 4th start Price has made against the Indians this season, so they know all about it, and they don't like the numbers. David Price is 9-2 in 12 career starts against Cleveland. Price started for the Tigers. His second start was at Cleveland on April 11th. He got a no decision. He left that game when he was down 3-2. There's that good changeup. Boy, that is a big pitch for David Price. When he came to the big leagues, he was a fastball slider pitcher, and he's added the curveball and the changeup.
And the cutter. He's been cutting the ball a lot more over the last few years.
Jason Kipnis with a leadoff double has come in to score. Bouncing ball, big bounce for Donaldson at third. The inning is over. The defense once again turns a good double play. Ryan Goins behind David Price. Cleveland with a 1-0 lead. lot of first inning runs, but it hasn't been a problem, especially lately. 1-0 Cleveland. Let's take a look at the lineup for John Gibbons, and Ben Revere is leading off for a second straight game. Josh Donaldson and Jose Bautista. He has had a good year against Cleveland. He's 6 for 16 with 5 doubles and 4 RBIs, and that's going all the way back into the end of April, early May. Edwin Encarnacion, great month of August. He has hits in every game he has played in the month of August.
Remember the May he had last year was really good. This one might be a little bit more consistent for Edwin. They will go up against Danny Salazar. He gets ready for his 24th start of the season. Just 25 years old. He's pitching on an extended 8 days rest. That was because he missed his start last Friday. He had a little bit of a virus. Missed that start. He lost 5 or 6 pounds, but he has gained that back, and he is tough. 11-7 with a .330 earned run average. Averaging 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's got a great fastball and a good breaking ball and a good splitter. So Blue Jays are going to have to wear him down tonight.
Ben Revere leading off. There's a fastball. You're going to get a lot of fastballs from Salazar. He will pound that strike zone. Revere 0 for 4 in yesterday's game. He had a walk and a strikeout. Season numbers for Revere are good. 302 overall. Danny Salazar making his 24th start of the season. He has given up home runs in 18 of his 23 starts this year. That has been a problem for him.
He will challenge you. His fastball at times is pretty straight. He can cut the ball. And he's got a splitter, but he's got that nice free and easy action where that ball really jumps on you. There are his numbers in 2 career starts versus the Blue Jays. Blue Jays are only hitting 194 against him in those 2 starts.
There was that splitter, and Gomes will throw to first to complete the strikeout. 1 down. Defensively, they've made some changes here with the Indians. In left field, Michael Brantley, a terrific player, both ways, defense and with the bat. Abraham Almonte was picked up at the trade deadline. Jerry Sands is in right. Michael Vilas makes the start at third base, and the rookie Francisco Lindor. Jason Kipnis at second. Carlos Santana, the former catcher, playing first base now. And the former Blue Jay, Yan Gomes, behind the plate.
And there's the future right there at shortstop. Francisco Lindor is the 4th best prospect in Major League Baseball. Entering 2015, he was the former first-round draft pick, 8th overall in 2009. He's only 21 years old. He won't turn 22 until November.
He is from Puerto Rico. And he got a thrill as he got a chance to say hello to Robbie Alomar before the game. Of course, Robbie's brother, Sandy Alomar, is the first base coach for the Indians, and he brought him over to say hi to Robbie.
What a talent.
3-0. Donaldson, he's got the green light. 3-0. We have seen him hit home runs, and we have seen him hit singles on 3-0 counts.
He had a 3-1 fastball yesterday out of here.
He'll take ball 4. So Salazar trying to establish his fastball early. What is the overall approach for Salazar against this lineup?
You know, Terry Francona was talking about that today. He said against this team, we're going to challenge this team. We have to challenge them, and we can't nibble. When you start nibbling against this team here, you're going to find the ball in the seats. We got to pitch these guys in so they can't extend. But you can't do what Salazar just did, and that's nibble around this power. You got to go after him.
The lineup is intimidating, no question about that. Jose Bautista. Bautista has 5 doubles and 4 ribbies against Cleveland this season over the span of the 4 games. Off speed pitch in there for a strike. It's 1-1.
You know, that's one thing that the Indians have that we didn't see from the Tigers. They've got very good starting pitching. They're going to miss 2 of the best starters that the Indians have in this series, so the Blue Jays will catch a break there. No Corey Kluber, no Carlos Carrasco.
That's going to reach the seats down the right side. You mentioned that, and obviously the Blue Jays are playing great baseball, but they have had a lot of good fortune in missing some of the tougher pitchers in the rotations of the teams they have just beaten up on.
We didn't see Cole Hamels in Texas, and he came back out after the Blue Jays left there and won that game. Blue Jays missed Sonny Gray, who was scratched from a start the last homestand. Corey Kluber is as tough as anybody, and they're not going to see him.
1-2 to Bautista. That's a liner into the seats, and the Blue Jays, I tell you what, they are on just about everything they swing at. They're so patient and so good at working a pitcher into their happy zone.
Yes, and patient. They don't swing at those borderline pitches, and they make it look so easy when they make mistakes. They hit the ball hard.
Downstairs. Salazar struck out Ben Revere to start the game. That gives him 163 strikeouts for the season. The Indians have 4 pitchers in the top 10 in strikeouts in the American League. This is a legitimate test for this Blue Jays lineup.
Yes, it is. As good as the Indians are, or Blue Jays are offensively, the Indians pitching matches up with them.
There's another strikeout, another splitter from Salazar. That'll bring up Edwin Encarnacion, who's riding a 25-game hit streak. Pretty impressive numbers.
Well, the 25-game hit streak is impressive. Now look what he has done during that. 11 home runs and 35 RBIs. He's hit over 400 during that streak, and his on-base plus his slugging average is 1.354. I mean, those are just ridiculous numbers. His hard hit rate, the percentage of times that he hits the ball hard, is double anybody else in the major leagues.
His 25-game hit streak is more than twice the length of the other active hit streak. That's Nick Markakis of the Braves. He has an 11-gamer. The dog days of August were nothing for Encarnacion.
No such thing. Just won Player of the Week, and I'm sure he's going to be Player of the Month. The numbers that he has put up this month.
Out on the outside corner. Edwin. He's reached base in 30 straight games. And since the start of his hit streak, he's raised his batting average 38 points. Well, I tell you what, you can see it, and you and I both recognize it. The separation he gets from his hands and that front foot, I mean, that is dangerous. He is really seeing the ball well.
You've heard hitting coaches talk about walk away from your hands, meaning the front foot is walking or stepping towards the pitcher and your hands are going back. He is loading up and recognizing pitches so early out of the pitcher's hand. You're going to have to make perfect pitches like that to get him out.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Salazar with 2 strikeouts this inning. He walked Donaldson. Tulowitzki in the 5th spot is on deck. Way outside. Full count. So Donaldson at first will get a running start. 2 outs. Cleveland has a 1-0 lead. There goes Donaldson, fouled into the seats. Tulowitzki is enjoying his run with the Blue Jays. He has really seen his team catch fire since he has joined the club. Salazar strikes out the side. They told you this was a tough assignment for the Blue Jay hitters. The Indians have a good pitching staff.
two things. One, just how compelling and unique the opportunity in Toronto is. I feel like throughout all of professional sports, this is one that fits my skill set. It fits what provides fulfillment for me on a daily basis. And when I think about who I am as a person, and for those of you that know me, I'm a lot about waking up every single day and wanting to be better.
That is Mark Shapiro, who has been named the next president of the Toronto Blue Jays, and that will take place after the season is over. But the announcement was made today. He comes from the Cleveland Indians.
From Cleveland, and I got to know him while he was with the Indians. It's a great hire. He's young, he's enthusiastic, and he's excited about having the job, and he will marry the analytics side and the old-fashioned baseball side. He comes from a baseball family and do a great job. I just know he'll do a great job and a good hire by the Blue Jays.
It's in his 24th season with the Indians, and he came out of college. He was a college athlete, played football at Princeton. Ryan Rayburn, we talked about Rayburn's numbers against David Price. That's why he gets the nod tonight in this lineup. He's 9 for 27 with the home run against Price.
Those numbers that he has done against the Blue Jays this year with a double and a couple RBIs. 6 for 9. Blue Jays haven't figured out how to get him out.
Foul right off the catcher's mask, and that mask popped right off the helmet of Russell Martin.
He is one tough guy. Russell Martin right on the bottom part of that mask and just shakes him up a little bit. Jars that mask off of him.
He seems to be running a little bit better. In fact, he had a stolen base attempt here a couple games ago, and that hamstring must be feeling a little bit better. 1-2 to Ryan Rayburn. Price strikes him out. Well, the defense has already earned a red star in the book tonight. That was at second base with Ryan Goins turning the double play. Let's take a look at the outfield defense. It's been terrific with Revere, Pilar, and Bautista from left to right. Donaldson and Tulowitzki manning the left side. Goins and Colabello on the right side, and the veteran Russell Martin behind the plate.
Chris Colabello will get the start tonight because of his numbers against Danny Salazar. Those just 6 at-bats. He's got 2 hits, a home run. This is his 21st start at first base tonight for the Blue Jays. Colabello is going to be batting 6th in this lineup tonight. Been coming up with some big base hits.
Yes, he has. He's done a terrific job. He's a very good hitter. And he's played some good D lately over at first base. He's committed just 1 error. This is his 21st start, as Pat mentioned. Yan Gomes, the former Blue Jay. He's done a terrific job since joining the Indians. Last year, he was the Silver Slugger in the American League as the best offensive catcher in the American League. Had a terrific season a year ago, 21 homers and 74 RBIs for Gomes.
Had an injury earlier this season, a knee injury. We didn't see him when the Blue Jays played him back at the end of April, beginning of May.
Sandy Alomar is the first base coach for the Indians, and he, of course, was a terrific catcher when he played. An all-star catcher. He said he thinks Gomes might have come back a little early. A knee injury is very difficult for a catcher to overcome, and then you're trying to basically rehab during the regular season. And his hitting obviously suffered, but he said, boy, did he concentrate on his defense, and he has really done a great job catching this Indian staff. David Price, a couple of strikeouts, 2 outs. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Carlos Beltran has gotten some big hits for the Yankees this season. That sac fly drives in to run his 48th of the season. Of course, he hit the big pinch hit home run right here at Rogers Center.
Red Sox have 2 errors already in the first inning that led to that run.
Jerry Sands fouls it down the right side into the seats. Ryan Hannigan made an error on catcher's interference, and then Pablo Sandoval was charged with a fielding error, his 15th of the season. Price with his first 2 strikeouts of the ball game this inning.
I think David took a look at Danny Salazar in the first inning he had. He said, you know what, I cannot afford to give up any more runs right here. So he has turned it up a notch.
Just missed. The Indians, we mentioned, they're playing better baseball of late. They've won all 5 games at home. Salazar missed his last start. He's been dealing with a virus and got sick after his last start against the Yankees, so they skipped him, and he's got an extra few days of rest. Changeup is fouled off.
They've won 8 out of their last 10. They really took the Yankees to task. I think they beat them 5 out of 7 times over the last 10 days or so.
They have the kind of pitching staff that matches up very well against the Yankees. They throw hard. Just missed the inside corner. About knee high. Full count now. Abraham Almonte is on deck, the center fielder. Danny Salazar threw the gauntlet down, and David Price answers. Salazar struck out the side in the bottom of the first. Price strikes out the side in the top of the second. We got a pitcher's duel.
Season game live or on demand in True HD. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking, and much more. It also includes a free At-Bat 15 subscription. Watch baseball at home, at the office, or on the go. Season-long subscription packages are available. Visit BlueJays.com for more details. And the Blue Jays fans will be watching the Yankees and Red Sox very closely. And the Red Sox do trail 1-0, but they have a runner on in the second. Buck?
Thank you, Barry. Troy Tulowitzki will start things off here in the bottom of the second. Tulowitzki batting in the 5th spot for the second straight game. Tulowitzki is getting his first look at Danny Salazar. The shortstop had a double in 4 at-bats yesterday. He lined the ball over the head of the right fielder, J.D. Martinez.
Starting to see a few things that Troy's doing to see that he's coming out of his slump. Starting to hit the ball with a little bit more regularity on the nose. The next thing that comes, those things are going to start falling in.
Edwin Encarnacion has 35 RBIs this month. That's the most in a single month since Tulowitzki drove in 40. in September and October of 2010. So it's in there, folks. It's in there.
Yeah. And John Gibbons said, I'm just going to drop him down, take the pressure off. Maybe he doesn't lead off the game where he can come in and gather his thoughts. I'm not married to it. I might not stick with it, but I just want to get his bat going.
Ben Revere had been red hot. They put him up in that leadoff spot, and since they've elevated him, Revere's 0 for 5. 3-1 to Tulowitzki, leading off the second. This is a high pop-up behind second. Kipnis is out. Sands comes in, calls him off, and the right fielder makes the catch. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Kevin Kiermaier is one of the best defenders in all of baseball. He went up and jumped high on that wall in center field and takes extra bases away and saves a home run for Chris Archer. 1 out. Chris Colabello.
What division has as many good center fielders defensively than the American League East?
Yeah, it's
think about it.
Pretty rich.
Kiermaier, Adam Jones, Jacoby Ellsbury,
Mookie Betts,
and our own Kevin Pillar.
Yeah, it's really rich with defensive talent, that's for sure. Kevin Pillar made another terrific effort yesterday in support of Mark Burley. Had the ball in his glove high on the wall in left center, and the ball popped out of his glove as he hit the turf.
That would have ranked, I think, number 2 this year, behind that one great catch he made over the wall on Jackie Robinson Day, all the way back on April the 15th.
Colabello with the count in his favor. 2 balls and a strike. Colabello was 2 for 6 against Danny Salazar. One of those 2 hits is a homer. Colabello with 13 home runs, 49 RBIs for the season. Boy, good sink on that fastball at 95.
Well, you got to gear yourself up for that fastball. It's mid to upper 90s with free action that gets on you very quickly, but then you got to deal with a cutter, a splitter, and that time it looked like he sunk his fastball. A little bit of a sinker. Tough not to chase any pitches from this guy right here because he's got a great arsenal.
97 got off the plate. Another full count. Russell Martin's been swinging a hot bat, and you notice no batting gloves. And he says he's not superstitious, but it just feels good right now.
Yes, it does.
Another strikeout for Salazar. Well, Russell Martin been swinging a hot bat. He got rid of the batting gloves, and that stroke has come around.
Well, how good has it felt? This good right here. From Alex Wilson to right field. That power stroke going the other way that time, and then they try and slip a fastball by it on the inner half, and Russell says, not going to happen. Pulls that one down the left field line. He now has 17 home runs on the season.
Lindor, a terrific dive, and he bounces it in time. That's why they like Francisco Lindor. He's the future for the Indians at shortstop. He takes a hit away from Russell Martin. Danny Salazar appreciates the effort. This was headed to left field. It bounces once. Lindor pops to his feet and guns to first to retire Martin.
You know, Indians manager Terry Francona has a very close relationship with incoming Blue Jays president Mark Shapiro. Francona told me that Shapiro was very thoughtful in keeping him informed on everything that was going on while respecting everyone's privacy, including those in the Blue Jays organization. He said that Shapiro spoke to the coaches yesterday. The meeting got very emotional, so that when the news broke, it didn't come as a total shock to everybody. Asked what kind of an executive Blue Jays were getting, Francona said Shapiro is highly intelligent, driven, organized, and has outstanding people skills. In fact, anyone who comes in contact with Shapiro, he makes them better. Now, it is true that Francona has an opt-out clause in his contract in the event that Shapiro leaves the organization. A team source told me today, Buck, that Francona has no plans on exercising that clause.
Yeah, it sounds like Terry Francona is committed to the Indians long term. Francona's in his 3rd season with Cleveland. Mark Shapiro has been involved with the Cleveland Indians for 24 seasons, and he was the leader of the renovation of Progressive Field in Cleveland, and they did a terrific job of renovating that ballpark.
A little bit of everything in baseball.
That is pushed past David Price. Goins on the run, throws it away, and the Blue Jays caught a break. That ball hit Almonte as he was past first base, or else Almonte would have headed for second, maybe third, had it gone into foul territory.
Not a bad idea against a tough left-handed pitcher like David Price. Recognize that the second baseman is playing deep. Now you're going to try and push this ball by the pitcher, which he does, and then use his outstanding speed to outrun the baseball. And you're right, the Blue Jays caught a break right here when this ball hits Almonte. And it doesn't bounce far enough away. Right there. That Colabello could run it down and keep him at first base.
Leadoff single now. Mike Cavilas, the number 9 hitter, playing third base tonight. He shows bunt and takes it inside. These are 2 pretty good offensive ball clubs, scoring a lot of runs, but I think both teams have sensed that the pitchers are on their game tonight.
Yeah, both of them. They're on their game. And if you have a chance to play for 1 run here or 1 run there, you got to take advantage of it.
Ground ball. Goins at second to Tulowitzki, coming across the bag. Double play. So that takes care of that leadoff single. Another double play. Second of the ball game turned behind David Price.
Second one started by Ryan Goins. This time he comes in, charges it, backhand flip to Tulowitzki, clears. Tulowitzki always seems to have just enough arm strength to get that ball over to first base right before that batter gets down to that bag, and David Price certainly enjoys that.
Well, the defense has been really good for a long time now since the Tulowitzkis took over at short. Goins is playing every day. Colabello has improved dramatically at first. 2 outs now. Back to the top of the order. Kipnis goes after the first pitch. That's a fair ball. Colabello will wave off Price, and another quick inning. David Price needed just 5 pitches to retire the side in order.
today. I spoke with John Gibbons, and a couple of points he wanted to make. First and foremost, he wanted to say that Paul Beeston has been a wonderful guy to work for, and he thinks everyone in the organization is going to miss having him around every day. He was also asked if he thinks Shapiro should consider bringing back Alex Anthopoulos as GM, and Gibbons very quickly said, absolutely. Alex has done such a tremendous job building this organization, from the trades he made in the offseason to bring guys like Donaldson and Martin to everything he's done at the trade deadline. The big question is, will Alex Anthopoulos come back to Toronto? He's going to be a free agent, guys, and he's going to be a very, very coveted executive.
You're right about that, Barry. That's all going to be very interesting and certainly be a topic of conversation once Mark Shapiro takes over. Alex Anthopoulos, indeed. I'm going to say he's going to be the executive of the year in the American League for what he has done with his ball club.
Oh, I think so, for sure, especially if the Blue Jays get into the playoffs. And maybe that's why they announced the Mark Shapiro hiring now, to give him some time to maybe work out a contract for Alex Anthopoulos. Certainly deserves it.
According to the reports out of Cleveland, Shapiro has made the statement that he's going to be with the Cleveland Indians until the end of September. So at least he is not going to move into the situation. And Paul Beeston's going to be the president till the end of the season. This is popped up off the bat of Kevin Pillar. Kipnis, the second baseman, makes the catch. Blue Jays have had just one base runner first time through the order. That was a Josh Donaldson one-out walk. Well, it'll be interesting to see as Goins bats the number 9 hitter in the lineup, how much conversation is going to be going on in that Blue Jays bench, sharing information about Danny Salazar.
All you have to do is look out there. See, he's got a pretty good fastball tonight. His split's got some nice movement to it. I think what you might see now, the second time through, is a little bit more aggressive swings early in the count against Salazar. He's using that fastball early to get ahead.
Oh, 0-2 to Goins. Danny Salazar with 4 strikeouts. First time through the order. There's another strikeout. Make it 5. Well, Ben Revere will come to the plate, and one of the best moments we have seen this summer, courtesy of Ben Revere. Yesterday at the end of an inning, the Blue Jays are always honoring men and women of the Canadian Armed Forces, and Ben Revere was coming from his position and left, recognized the young soldier and gave her a hug. It was a genuine moment that I think everybody was really impressed with, the sincerity of Ben Revere's gesture.
Very real, very genuine, that he wanted to show his gratification for the service.
Tell you what, the Blue Jays have brought in a ton of good guys. Character guys that love to play baseball. Bouncing ball past Salazar, and Kipnis bobbles it. Ben Revere will reach. You can see Kipnis said, my bad. He felt like he should have made a play on that ball.
It's going to be interesting to see how they rule it. Looks like they rule it a base hit up the middle. You can see Kipnis playing in the pole, and it's right up the middle. Even if he comes up with this ball, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get Revere, who can really run. That one hit off the glove of Kipnis.
It is ruled a base hit for Ben Revere. That's the first base hit off of Salazar. Kind of similar to the play last night in Dodger Stadium. Jake Arrieta credited with a no-hitter. And Kike Hernandez hit a hot shot right to the feet of Starling Castro, who was playing second base. For me, it was an error. And, I mean, it was a base hit. I misspoke. It was a base hit all the way. They called it an error. But it's academic. It's a no-hitter in the books. Boy, there's the value of Yan Gomes behind the plate. He's got a lot of hard-throwing pitchers that will throw hard sliders and splitters in the dirt, and they throw them with confidence.
He's a good catcher. Calls a good game. Frames the ball well. Blocks the ball well. I think the Indians recognized that right away after they acquired him. Said, we got to get this guy behind the plate every day.
Prime Minister Stephen Harper at the ball game today. He was down on the field, said hello to John Gibbons. He was being escorted around the ballpark by Robbie Alomar, the Hall of Famer. And Stephen Harper started his life here, moved out west to Calgary. He had a chance to come down and meet some of the players and say hello to the manager. He's kind of caught up into the Blue Jays fever, if you will.
Big baseball fan, from what I understand.
Josh Donaldson with a 1-1 count.
You see Ben Revere, how he jumps back towards first base, how he keeps that elbow bent. I asked him about that, and he said, I've seen a lot of players go back straight with a straight hand and then keep it out there. Watch it one more time. It's straight, but then he lets his body keep coming. He doesn't want to hurt his shoulder or his elbow. He has seen that before on base runners.
Donaldson pulls it foul. That's interesting. But you can see his arm is extended to get back ahead of the tag, and then he kind of collapses into his rib cage with that right elbow.
And that all has to do about the shoulder so it doesn't pop out of the socket. He says if you hit the ground too hard, or the first baseman taking that glove after the ball's in it and trying to apply a hard tag right under your elbow, you can hyperextend your elbow. So he likes to keep that elbow bent as he's going back to the bag.
1 ball, 2 strikes. There goes Revere. Cut out and missed. Donaldson strikes out. That's 6 strikeouts in 3 innings for Danny Salazar. He comes as advertised, and the Indians have a 1-0 lead.
On Sportsnet. Presented by the all-new 2016 Honda Pilot, proud partner and official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
The Price is right. David Price struck out the side in the second. Got a double play in the third through just 5 pitches in the third inning. But he trails Cleveland 1-0. These two teams met up early in the season, the 30th of April into May, 4-game series. They combined to score almost 13 runs a game. A little bit different story tonight. There's a fly ball off the bat of Lindor. Pilar is there. 1 down. David Price is making his 6th start with the Blue Jays, and he hasn't missed a beat.
Look at those numbers in the 5 starts that he has put up for the Blue Jays. Opponent's batting average just at 200. Getting into the 8th inning. At Texas, at LA. He had a no decision against the Yankees, and he also beat the Yankees at Yankee Stadium.
No decision came after 7 1/3. He left the ball game with a 3-1 lead, and that's when Carlos Beltran hit the pinch hit 3-run homer off of Aaron Sanchez. David Price in that ball game, it was kind of a struggle for him. He gave up 11 hits in that game, over 7 1/3, and had 6 strikeouts. Michael Brantley hit into that double play in the first inning. That's how the Indians scored their only run. Jason Kipnis came in from third base on the double play. No RBI, of course, for Brantley.
This guy has worn out the Blue Jays in his career, hasn't he? Coming into this game, 384 career average versus Toronto.
Yeah, he has really enjoyed hitting against the Blue Jays for his career. And when you look at his numbers here at Rogers Center, they're ridiculous. He's 21 for 42 coming into this game. That's pretty good, Pat. 21 for 42.
500?
Do some ciphering.
I done ciphered. 500 average in this building. It's a very simple approach. He's very calm and collected at the plate. He really uses his hands well.
Of course, his father, Mickey Brantley, was the Blue Jays hitting coach. So he's been around the game his whole life. In this ballpark, Michael has 6 doubles, a triple, and a home run. Part of the 21 hit barrage he's dropped on the Blue Jays here at Rogers Center.
And he doesn't just pull the ball. We've seen him slice the ball to left field. We've seen him hit it out in right field. That's why the defense straight up on the infield for the Blue Jays, shading him the other way in the outfield and deep.
Or the infield is about as straight away as you can get.
Bunch him a little bit more in the middle of the diamond.
David Price took a lot off that breaking ball. Still wasn't pleased with the location of that pitch. He wanted it down a little bit more.
Seen him a couple of times now use that curveball. More so than in the past. Now it looks like he's going to throw the change.
Inside all the way back to the screen. 2-2, 1 out. Price checking with the umpire to make sure he's got the right count. That's a tough pitch to lay off of. Fastball down and away at 96. Switch hitting first baseman Carlos Santana will be next. A lot of bugs out tonight. You can see both Price and the hitters are trying to wipe the bugs away.
Yeah,
some kind of hatch.
Something's happening out there.
Boy, Brantley, I mean, he's the epitome of a good hitter. 2 strikes, shortens up a little bit, just tries to put the bat on the ball, protecting the strike zone. This is quite a battle. Brantley 6 for 25 against Price, under 250 now.
He was 3rd in the American League voting last year, 2014. You can see why with the great numbers that he's put up.
And Price strikes him out with a fastball. 4 strikeouts for Price.
Tough hitter, so you got to go back to your best pitch. And he gets it by Brantley.
Carlos Santana grounded out to 3rd, his first time up. Price is the anti-Mark Buehrle. Buehrle is the fastest pitcher to work in baseball, and Price is among the slower. He's very deliberate. He likes to think his pitch is out. Buehrle's just the opposite. He grabs it and fires. There's a liner to left. One hop right to Ben Revere. Santana with a 2-out single.
Hey, whatever it takes, right? If it takes you a while to gather your thoughts and make sure you get it over the plate, make good pitches. I don't care. You throw zeros up there, you can take as long as you want.
Everybody's different. And David Price, he came out of the Blue Jays dugout to get ready for this start tonight at 6:09. And the people that were in the seats were applauding his appearance out of that dugout. But he has a lengthy routine before he goes to the bullpen to get ready to warm up. Brian Rayburn was a strikeout victim in the second. He gets jammed with that inside pitch. David Price won the Cy Young Award in the American League in 2012, pitching for Tampa Bay.
Just a little bit off this inning, as the Indians are making him work just a little bit harder. They have to get that ball inside, outside, up, down. Using a few more off-speed pitches this night than what we're used to.
The Indians are very good fastball hitting ball club, so Price is making some adjustments, and who can argue with his record against the Indians? He's 9-1 for his career against Cleveland.
9-1 with a great earned run average. He's been dominant against the Indians this season. It's the fourth time that he pitched against Cleveland. He had a complete game against them back on June the 12th, and they're doing exactly what their manager, Terry Francona, wanted them to do. Really make him work here through the first 4 innings.
You mentioned Price's dominance over the Indians. Among pitchers that have made at least 10 starts against Cleveland since 1920, only Pedro Martinez has a lower earned run average at 177 than David Price at 204. Consistency over the long haul.
Yeah, and just keep beating. Doesn't matter who you throw out there, just keep dominating them.
Little chopper towards second. Goins going to have to hurry. Flips with his glove in time. Cleveland's going to take a look at that. Terry Francona's at the top step, and now they have waved it off. He said, forget about it. Goins makes another good defensive plays. This time, he flips it with his glove. The Blue Jays are a complete team, and the defense has really risen to the top.
Monday, Jeff Blair and Kevin Barker will break down all the news and stories for a full 2 hours. Every weekday starting at 11 a.m. Eastern, only on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Guys, you can also see that on the tube as well, and it's a great show, and everything a Blue Jays fan would love to hear about what's going on.
Well, there's a lot of things going on right now, and Jeff Blair and Kevin Barker will cover it for you weekdays at 11. Make sure you check it out. And the Blue Jays, of course, are having a record-setting season in many regards. It'll be Bautista, Encarnacion, and Tulowitzki against Danny Salazar. Bautista struck out his first time up. The Blue Jays have been pretty consistent in making adjustments second time through the order.
I know they want to make him work, make Salazar work, make him throw a lot of pitches, just so you can get him out of here because he's so tough. One adjustment they can make is maybe swing earlier against the fastball.
Bautista pulls it to third. Macavilas throws him out, one down. With one out, Edwin Encarnacion will come to the plate. And what a terrific stretch of hitting he has been on. The highest OPS in a single month in franchise history. Encarnacion has that number right now. 1.385, better than Bautista's April of 2011. Delgado on the list as well. Olerud and Delgado a second time. But nobody has topped Encarnacion's month of August.
Some of the greatest sluggers in Blue Jay history on that list right there. And Edwin is blowing them away right now. This has been a historical month for him and the Blue Jays offense.
And the Parrots are out tonight. Everybody bringing that parrot. That reflects Edwin's home run trot. He keeps that right wing up as if he were providing a perch for a parrot as he goes around the bases. Tough strike right there. Salazar doesn't need any help. 2-1 now to Encarnacion. Ground ball, they're playing the shift. That's Kipnis on the shortstop side of second. 2 down. Well, we mentioned that Salazar with his 6 strikeouts tonight. This pitching staff leads the American League in strikeouts. And they're doing something that has never been done in the American League. They have 4 starters with a chance to record 175 strikeouts in the season. There's only been one major league team that has had 4 pitchers with 175 or more strikeouts in a single season. That was the 1990 New York Mets, and you saw that team front and center.
Up close and personal. I was traded over there the last month of the season, and I got to watch Dwight Gooden and Frank Viola and Sid Fernandez.
David Cohn was the 4th of that
David Cohn
starting rotation.
Ron Darling was the 5th starter.
Yeah, Darling was the 5th starter.
We had some great pitching over there. Did not win. The Pirates ended up winning that division that season. I'll tell you what it does when you don't have a lot of contact made, when you got a lot of strikes, you don't have to catch the ball. Makes your defense look pretty good.
That was an interesting team. Ron Darling was 7-9 on that team. Frank Viola was 20-12. They all had 181 or more strikeouts for the season. Here's the 1-1 to Tulowitzki. There's a line drive down the left field line. That's going to go up against the wall. Tulowitzki is headed for second base. They get in there with the slide. A 2-out double for Tulowitzki.
First time that the Blue Jays have a runner in scoring position tonight against Salazar, and it's Tulowitzki. He's looking like he's getting pretty close to starting to bust out of this. It's a breaking ball slider. He stays back, keeps those hands back, and that's a good sign when you can just get through the baseball on a line like this, and you can see that ball hooking towards the line for extra bases. Hit a double here the other day to right field on a similar type of swing.
Chris Colabello, he has been one of the best Blue Jays at cashing in runners from scoring position. 381 for the season for Colabello. was after that first pitch. Colabello struck out in the second.
You know what he's had a knack for is driving in big runs against tough pitching. Remember the home run against Johnny Cueto when Kansas City was in town? Need another one right here.
It's only one run in the game. Jason Kipnis hit a leadoff double off of David Price and came in to score on a double play ball. 1-0 ball game. Off speed pitch, foul. Called foul by Clint Fagan. Third base umpire. The ball was close to going over the bag. Colabello on the batter's box had a pretty good perspective of this.
This one will certainly tell if it's fair or foul. It's clearly a foul ball.
Looked a lot closer than that at full speed. So it's 0-2 now. Colabello's got to hang tough, and you can bet Salazar going to come with that splitter. Went with the fastball first upstairs. You watch Yan Gomes, the catcher. He will go to an outside indicator and change the signs, and everybody in baseball is very protective of the pitcher's signs now.
Especially when there's a runner at second base. There it is right there, touching a certain part of the body to give you the indication what the indicator is.
1-2, 2 outs. Colabello had a nice cut. Trying to work him upstairs. That's kind of interesting, but when you think about the fastball splitter, that's a good combination, separation.
That's the thing that I worry about right there. When you can elevate that fastball like Salazar does and then come back with the splitter, you're changing the eye plane of that hitter, making it tough to follow that ball around the strike zone.
Salazar racks up another strikeout. 7 strikeouts through 4 innings. Will go to the 5th. It's 1-0 Cleveland. Now it's time for Blue Jays Central Update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn.
Comfort Zone, and tonight we welcome guests of TD. Meantime, over in the Jays Care Community Clubhouse are folks from a great organization, Big Brothers and Sisters of Canada. Huck?
Well, that great organization, they were the recipients of a great event last night. Jays Care Foundation and Big Brothers Big Sisters participated in a Josh Donaldson baseball. Donaldson hosted a bowling tournament, and the players really came out in support David Price was front and center. He and Bautista were really competing in their bowling match, and it was a great turnout for all the Blue Jays. They did a terrific job of supporting two great causes, Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and the Jays Care Foundation.
If you were picking a bowling team and you had the first pick, who would you have taken?
Chris Colabello.
Really?
He bowled 217.
This guy can do everything.
Justin Smoke was right there with him. Yan Gomes is behind 0-2. Gomes is now 28 years old. He was drafted by the Blue Jays in 2009, a 10th round pick out of University of Tennessee. So Gomes and David Price share that. They both went to college in Tennessee. Price went to Vanderbilt. Gomes went to UT. As we mentioned, David Price making his 6th start, and he has really provided the Blue Jays with that ace, the presence of an ace in the rotation, the guy that makes sure you don't slip into any losing streaks, the guy that beats tough opponents.
Psychologically, I think it was perfect what happened the last time he pitched. If you remember that, Blue Jays were down in Texas and they came back and won a tough game. The first game of that series against the Texas Rangers, beat them late in that game, and that demoralized them. And then the Rangers had to then look at Price the next day. Psychologically, that's a boost for the Blue Jays and demoralizing for the opposition. That's what aces do.
Yeah, the Blue Jays won that game scoring 2 runs in the 9th inning. And they beat the closer, Sean Tolleson, who had a streak of consecutive games saved. And then they win that game in dramatic fashion. And then, oh man, tomorrow we got to play David Price. And Price came out and did exactly what you would hope. They got some early runs for him, and he took it from there.
We were talking about the New York Mets rotation and all the strikeouts in 1990. Well, playing on that team like I did just for a month, it was like every time you came to the ballpark, every day, because you had those great pitchers, you felt like you were going to win. And what a feeling that is. Like, hey, we got a chance to win. I think David Price, it's the same thing. When he pitches, the Blue Jays feel like they have an outstanding chance to win the ball game.
3-2 pitch to Gomes. Popped in the seats behind the Indians dugout. Yeah, you're right. When you go there and you see the starting pitcher, you say, man, we don't need many runs tonight.
You've played on teams like that where you've got the great starting pitching, and night after night after night, you're going to win. You just know it.
The early 80s team, 84, 85, 86, great pitching staff, Steve Clancy, Jimmy Key, Louis Leal. You just knew every night you're going to be in the game. Doyle Alexander in 85. Bouncing ball toward third. Donaldson unloads quickly and throws out Yan Gomes. One out. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Well, the Yankees have been scoring runs at record pace. They scored 20 runs against the Braves. Second time they've scored 20 runs this season. And every time they have done that in their history, they've gone to the World Series. And they are scoring runs just as frequently as the Blue Jays.
They put it on that staff down in Atlanta, didn't they? We thought the Blue Jays had a good series against Detroit, scoring 29 runs in 3 games.
They outscored the Tigers 29-6 and sweeping the Tigers.
29 runs. That's pretty good in 3 games. I think the Yankees had, what did they have, 15 or 16 and then 20? And
yeah, they scored a bunch.
I mean, it was close to 40 in that 3-game series against Atlanta.
This is the right fielder, Jerry Sands. He is late on that cutter. Price ahead 0-2. Sands a strikeout victim in the second. He strikes out again. 5 strikeouts for Price.
Second time that he's gotten Jerry Sands. This time it looked like he took a little something off that ball. Change up. Watch that ball fading underneath the bat of Sands, who does not come up with it. David Price with another strikeout. That gives him 5 now tonight.
Abraham Almonte had a push bunt for a base hit in the 3rd. He was erased on the double play. And you can see the right side of the infield has shortened up. Goins at second and Colabello at first, guarding against that possibility.
Look where he's looking now.
Third base.
Down to third base. Well, maybe I can go that way.
He ran the hand up the bat barrel just in case, thinking about it. Bunt takes a strike. Almonte signed with the Yankees originally, and then he went to Seattle. Cleveland picked him up from the Padres in a trade deadline deal. They sent Mark Zepchinski to San Diego, the left-hander that pitched for the Blue Jays. Chopped right at home plate. It's a foul ball. Again, Price checking with the umpire, making sure it's a 1-2 count.
No need to mess around right here, setting up the hitter. You want to take him yourself.
And he does. He hits the glove once again. Almonte strikes out. Price has 6 strikeouts. His mound opponent, Danny Salazar, has 7. 1-0 Cleveland.
Store. J-Shop is Canada's official team shop for your Toronto Blue Jays, bringing together the largest selection of Blue Jays products anywhere. Visit us online at jshop.ca. And guys, that might be a better way to shop because the shops are very busy. And if you see those cool red hats, I've seen a lot of the Blue Jays sporting those during BP today. I talked to a couple of players. They absolutely love the red caps, so I think we'll be seeing a lot more of those during batting practice.
Yeah, they all wore them out today during batting practice. Of course, they wore them yesterday on Canada Baseball Day. They wore the red piping uniforms and the red hats. This is Russell Martin. Of course, he's Canadian. He loves the red hats. Fastball upstairs.
He loved it so much, he hit a home run yesterday.
step. That's going to reach the seats, out of play. One nothing ball game. As a Martin in the 7th spot. It'll be Martin, Pilar, and Goins, bottom 3rd of the Blue Jays order here in the 5th. Pulled to 3rd. Aviles has it. Long throw in time. 1 down. That'll bring Kevin Pilar to the plate. Kevin Pilar had a big day yesterday with the glove and with the bat.
Seems like he's been doing this on a regular basis. Rajay Davis with the ball to center field, and Kevin Pilar kicks it off the ground to save that base hit. And then earlier in the game, he pitched 0-2 breaking ball from Alfredo Simon out of the ballpark. Kevin Pilar's got 9 home runs now. He's driven in 44. That's what you want from your center field. Hit a home run and make great plays in the field.
Save a run and knock in one. And Pilar has been doing that consistently. He's been saving a lot of runs, that's for sure. 1 out. Another pop-up. We saw Kevin Kiermaier earlier in the broadcast make a great catch in Baltimore, taking a home run away from Manny Machado. They might be the front runners in the Gold Glove running in the American League.
If you look at defensive run saves, they're 1 and 2.
Boy, Salazar's making some good pitches. Top of the zone and then all the way down to the bottom of it. Spreading the focus of the hitters.
Executing the game plan that his manager wanted. Go right after him and use the fastball.
There's a cutter. We haven't seen many of those, but it's another strikeout for Salazar.
The all-new 2016 Honda Pilot, proud partner and official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Beautiful evening in Toronto. First of 3 games against the Cleveland Indians. These two teams split the 4-game series early in the season in Cleveland. And during that series, the teams combined to score almost 13 runs a game over the 4-game series. Different story here. That's off the glove of Salazar. It sneaks into center. Ryan Goins will turn the lineup over.
Salazar thought he had that ball. Like he was going to make that play, but Goins, another base hit back through the middle. It's right to the glove side of Manny. Thinks he has it. Looks into his glove and sees that ball trickle out into center field for the Blue Jays' 3rd hit of the night.
With that base hit, Ryan Goins has extended his personal hit streak to 10 straight. That's a career high for the Blue Jays' second baseman. Coming into this game, over his last 23 games, he's hit .313. Regular playing time has served him well. Ben Revere had a base hit his last time up. Revere is one of the better fastball hitters in all of baseball. He really has a knack for getting the head out on that good fastball. But Salazar has a great fastball tonight.
He's got a very good fastball. What he's going to have to do, he's going to have to start a little bit earlier to make sure, with all that pre-swing movement he has, that he catches that ball out in front. Blue Jays do an outstanding job hitting fastballs that are 93 plus. They're second in all of baseball. As a team, they're hitting .285 against that 93 plus fastball. To give you an idea of where that ranks, the Major League average is .260. Blue Jays 25 points better than the Major League average.
Revere off the glove again. Revere can run. Kipnis has no play. Salazar tipped it again, and Revere just runs too well. Kipnis chose not to throw it, and that was a good move.
Very smart move, because a couple of bad things can happen. The runner is going to be safer. You could throw the ball away, so you might as well just hold on to it. Manny Salazar once again tips it and slows it down, and that makes Kipnis have to change direction. There's some 2-out base hits. First by Goins off the glove of Danny Salazar, and now Ben Revere off the glove of the pitcher. Now we got to take advantage of it.
2 aboard, 2 outs. Salazar against Donaldson. Off-speed pitch. Make it rain. That's the Twitter handle of Josh Donaldson, the bringer of rain. And he has done it 36 times this year. Big numbers with runners in scoring position for Donaldson.
He just gets lasered in when those runners are on base, doesn't he? That focus jumps just a little bit.
Takes a close pitch. Donaldson has done a terrific season driving in go-ahead runs. He has 29 go-ahead RBIs. First in the American League. They won't chase. These hitters have been consistent, making that pitcher come to them.
They've got a game plan right now, and they're not going to deviate from it. They're going to stay with that, whatever it is. If you're going to sit on a breaking ball, they do a good job of doing that. Or if they're looking for that fastball in one spot, they do a good job with that.
Full count, 2 outs. Goins from second. Goins had a base hit to center. Ben Revere has 2 hits in 3 at-bats. Donaldson with a full count. Bautista will be next if Donaldson keeps the inning alive. To center field. Almonte on the run. He won't get it. Goins is in to score. Here comes Revere. Donaldson's headed for third, and he's in there with a slide.
The ball away. Josh Donaldson doesn't have to pull the ball to drive in runs. We've seen him go to right field so many times this season. Drives that ball over the head of the center fielder Almonte, heads all the way to third base with a triple. And I'm telling you, this place is going crazy right now. I have never heard it so loud after this triple by Donaldson.
With those 2 RBIs, Donaldson now has 35 RBIs in the month of August. That ties him with Edwin Encarnacion. The significance of that is it's the first time since 1950 that 2 teammates have had 35 RBIs in the month of August. 1950. Ted Williams, Walt Dropo, and Bobby Doerr. 2 Hall of Famers for the Boston Red Sox.
Told you it's been a historical month for the Blue Jays. And there's another one.
And this all started with 2 outs.
Almonte was shading Donaldson to left center field, and he just can't get to that ball that he drove to right center field. Blue Jays get 2 runs. Donaldson's at third base.
His 6th career triple.
Watch this ball down and away, and he takes it, drives it the other way. Almonte not going to come up with that one. And Josh, you can see him. He doesn't need a third base coach. He can make it to third easily.
High fly ball deep to left. Brantley's got room in front of the warning track, and Bautista flies out to end the inning. But Josh Donaldson with a 2-run triple has given the Blue Jays a 2-1 lead as we head to the 6th. And here comes the Home Hardware cleanup crew. Brought to you by Natura, Home Hardware's exclusive line of safe, environmentally friendly cleaning products. And it's all coming up tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Sportsnet Pacific. Jake Peavy goes to the mound for the Giants, and Brett Anderson, the left-hander, for the Dodgers. Both teams losing yesterday, and the Giants trail the Dodgers 3.5 games in the National League West. So make sure you check it out. Great baseball action. More to come tonight on Sportsnet Pacific. So David Price, he's got a lead now. It's 2-1. Number 9 hitter Mike Aviles hit into a double play his first time up. Two and one to the Indians' third baseman.
Price now has the lead, and we have seen him in the past when he gets leads like this, able to dial it up a little bit.
This goes after that high pitch. David Price trying to elevate the ball here, but Avila's pretty good high ball hitter.
Got his hands out away from his body and up high, and he keeps his hands up there. Little cutter. It'll be a nice pitch right now.
Moving inside. There's the cutter. He stays alive as he fouls it off. And we mentioned Price when he first came to the big leagues. He was a fastball slider pitcher. And then he has really refined his arsenal to include the great changeup. He cuts the fastball now, and he's got a slow curveball as well.
Yeah, I like the changeup. We've seen a lot more changeups over the last few years from Price. There's one right there.
Pilar, the center fielder, is there. One out. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Number 29 for David Ortiz. Solo shot. It came off Ivan Nova. Back and forth there in Boston. Jason Kipnis had a leadoff double, and he came around to score the Indians run in the first. And then the wrinkle, couple good curveballs.
And if you're Jason Kipnis, you're thinking, okay, what else is he going to do now? Take a little something off. Kipnis can handle that fastball. That's what he hit for a double.
Price wants to go away. He's still missing upstairs. They wanted that down. He reached back for a little extra and elevated the fastball out of the zone. He's still a little bit late with his arm. He's not finishing out in front. That's why 3 and 4 have been up out of the zone.
Yeah, you got to get on top of it just a little bit more. Get it out in front. Get that ball out in front. You can really finish off your pitches.
There's a cutter. He gets another strikeout. That's 7 strikeouts for David Price. He got it going in the second inning when he struck out the side.
Came into this game with 179 strikeouts on the season, and in the second inning, he's going to end up striking out the side. Rayburn, Gomes, and then Sands. He's been using the cutter. He's been using the changeup. Now we're starting to see a few more curveballs. That time against Sands. He's got 7 total now, giving him 186 on the season.
David Price had 271 strikeouts in 2014 when he split his time between Tampa Bay and Detroit. 271 strikeouts. Francisco Lindor, he has gone 0 for 2 so far. Kipnis, the 7th strikeout victim for Price. 0 and 2. David Price strikes out 2. Top of the 6th. Blue Jays have a 2-1 lead. Edwin Encarnacion will start things off, and the last couple of days he has hit 4 home runs, including a grand slam. Encarnacion to start the bottom of the 6th. so far in this ball game, but he has a 25-game hit streak, and he has a special streak as well. RBIs in 8 straight games, and that ties a franchise record. Willie Upshaw was the first to do it in '83. Delgado in 2000. Matt Stairs in 2007, and this season, Edwin Encarnacion drives in a run in this game. He will stand alone as far as RBIs in 9 straight games.
Certainly makes it easier when you can drive yourself in with a home run, but that's impressive. Alone getting a hit in 8 straight games, but then driving in a run in 8 straight games. You need some help from your teammates sometimes.
He has extra base hits in 8 straight games as well. Game hit streak. So he breaks the tie with Scott Rowland, and now it ties Shannon Stewart and John Olerud for the second longest hit streak in franchise history.
Some more hard contact, little two-seamer that is up, and look at Edwin with that head down, the short swing. Look how quickly he gets to that ball and hits it out in front and stays on top of that ball to create backspin. Did it into the outfield for a leadoff hit.
That was a great example of the separation. He had his foot down, his hands were back. It's very similar to a boxer getting ready to load a big right-handed punch.
You know, in athletics, before you can go forward, you always have to go back. You know, in any athletic endeavor, you have to go back before you can go forward. You're gathering steam, you're gathering momentum. And Edwin's doing that. You can see when his timing's off just a little bit, they don't work in unison together. But over the last month, they have been working perfectly.
Double barrel action. Jeff Manship is the right-hander. Kyle Crockett's a left-hander. Well, there's a Rockies fan that came all the way from Denver to see Tulowitzki. Tell you what, there have been some creative signs over this hot streak, that's for sure. High fly ball to right. Jerry Sands over near the foul line. The ball is into the seats, and Tulowitzki will have life. We mentioned the 26-game hit streak now for Encarnacion. He is 1 for 3 tonight. And when you look at where he stands, John Olerud had a 26-gamer in '93, Shannon Stewart in '99. So only Sean Green is ahead of Encarnacion for the longest hit streak in franchise history. With that hit here on August 31st, Encarnacion has a hit in every game he's played in August. Imagine that, Pat, getting a hit in every game for a full month.
Joe DiMaggio did it. This was almost 2 months. But you're right, that's just crazy. I mean, is there any doubt who's going to be the player of the month in the American League? I don't see it.
Tulowitzki pulls it to short. Lindor backhand throws to second for 1. What a nice double play started by the rookie Lindor. It's short.
The all-new 2016 Honda Pilot, proud partner and official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Two outs. Chris Colabello steps in. Colabello has struck out twice. Ground ball to short. Salazar is through the 6th. We'll go to the 7th. The Blue Jays and David Price have a 2-1 lead. Authority of the Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. What a terrific ball game. Josh Donaldson does it again. Donaldson with the go-ahead RBIs. He drives in 2. That gives him 31 go-ahead RBIs this season. That is 6 more than Nelson Cruz of the Seattle Mariners. Defensively, Justin Smoke comes in to take over at first for Chris Colabello. 1-run game. Got the defensive first baseman Smoke in the game. Michael Brantley takes a first pitch strike. David Price has allowed 1 run on 3 hits. Hasn't it been interesting watching Price over these 6 games? And he always has a little bit different wrinkle to give you. And this is the 4th start against the Indians, so it's important that you show them something different.
You know what he has? He's got a great feel for pitching. You know, he understands, I think, what is working for him this night.
There's a weak grounder to second. Michael Brantley's retired.
And what's not working, and can I make the adjustment in game? Remember his first start here against Minnesota where he got into trouble about the 4th inning or so, got the bases loaded, nobody out, and then got out of it with a pop out and a couple of strikeouts, and it was over then.
Game, set, and match.
Yep. We've seen him then go to the changeup against the Yankees when the fastball wasn't working. Tonight he's throwing more curveballs than I remember.
He's retired 8 straight since the Santana 2-out single in the 4th. Here is Santana. One and one to the Indians' first baseman, Carlos Santana.
He's their best power hitter. He leads this team with 15 home runs. That's where you want to throw that breaking ball down so it gets underneath his bat.
The Indians have the 3rd fewest home runs in the American League. They've only hit 106 as a team. The Blue Jays, of course, they're first in home runs, 184 for the Blue Jays. Tonight it was a 2-run triple off the bat of Josh Donaldson, his first triple of the season. His 6th career triple. Boy, that's a tough pitch. Santana got to it.
Still throwing hard. 96 down and away. You might see one of those cutters inside now since that last one was away.
Would you want it down or up?
I think in on his hands. You know what I mean? Just in on his hands so he can't extend.
Here it comes.
Santana does a good job of working at bats, doesn't he?
He and Bautista are the most patient and most selective in the American League. They are the leaders in walks, and they take a lot of close pitches. They both have great plate discipline. 3-2 pitch. He got a piece of it and fouled off the catcher. Russell Martin has turned this team around defensively. He was the beginning of the puzzle. And everything else they've done since has complemented the defense. And Santana takes a walk. Santana now with 82 walks. He's one behind Bautista. Well, you show you the standings. The Blue Jays are in first place. They have a 1.5 game lead over the New York Yankees. Tampa Bay under 500. Orioles have really fallen off the pace. And Boston starts action tonight, 10 games under 500. John Gibbons looks like he's going to get the bullpen going. Took a look at the lineup where they were and followed out some instructions to Pete Walker. There's a drive to right. Ryan Rayburn has hit this ball off the wall. Bautista tried to barehand it. Now Goins has a shot. Here's the throw to the plate, and it's high and late. Bautista tried to barehand it and bobbled it. He may have been better off using his glove, turning and fired. He made a good throw to Goins, but the bobble allowed Santana to score all the way from first.
And he read it, that was going to be a double off the wall. You're right. Anytime the ball is moving, you got to pick the ball up with your glove so you can catch it cleanly and get it back to the cutoff man as quickly as possible. Bautista is going to play this ball off the wall, but watch when he starts to grab it barehanded. Now boots it a couple of times, and that's going to allow Rayburn to go all the way to third and Santana to score the tying run.
He may have gotten surprised by the way that ball kicked off the wall. I think he anticipated it would come more towards his glove side. He had to reach back for it with the bare hand. So it's a 2-2 game. The infield is drawn in. This is Yan Gomes, the catcher. Gomes has struck out and grounded out the third. Boy, Ryan Rayburn, we talked about Rayburn, and boy, he swings the bat against Price. He delivers the game tying double.
He's had a good year against the Blue Jays.
Gomes trying to shoot that ball to right. But Troy Hawkins, a veteran, beginning to loosen up in the Blue Jays bullpen. Walker and Gibbons talking about where they are in the Indians lineup. 1-2 to Yan Gomes. Well, Price made a good pitch, and Gomes got a piece of it. That's his best fastball of the night.
Yeah, reached back for a little something extra there. That one hit 97. Gomes has a way of pulling his hands in and hitting. You see him trying to work on that type of swing of pulling his hands in and getting the barrel inside outing a ball on a fastball in the inner half. I've seen him dump a lot of balls to right field, muscle balls into the outfield with runners on third base. If you're going to get him, he is a tough customer with 2 strikes.
Well, he got to that tough pitch as well. Martin set up on the outside corner.
And he's looking just to serve that ball to right field. He doesn't have a stride right now. He's cut his swing down. This is an excellent 2-strike approach.
Two-two ball game. Brian Rayburn is at third. Price may have backed off that pitch a bit and had Gomes out in front. That's 9 strikeouts for Price.
It's all about timing. Sometimes this little cutter takes a little something off of it. You see Gomes comes up empty. It's a huge strikeout for David Price.
9 strikeouts now for Price, none bigger than the strikeout of Gomes with a runner at third, less than 2 outs. Jerry Sands has struck out twice. Jerry Meals at first base had no swing. Price right at 100 pitches. Pat mentioned earlier the Blue Jays did a good job of getting him out of his last start at 95 after 6 innings in the Arlington Heat.
The first time in 9 starts that he did not throw 100 pitches.
Ball on the strike. Oh, what a ball game. Both pitchers are locked in tonight. 10 hits in the game. Base hit through left field. Rayburn comes in to score. Sands picks up the RBI, his 14th of the season. And the Indians have retaken the lead.
Indians pecking away against David Price. Struck him out twice. This time he gets too much of the plate and he pulls it by Tulowitzki. On the ground, just out of the reach of Tulo.
So Sands with a 2-out single has given the Indians the lead. Abraham Almonte, the center fielder. He goes after the first pitch. There's a little looper into center. That's going to drop for a base hit. Pilar will go behind the runner. Sands gets back safely to second. Almonte's second hit of the night.
Almonte had a bunt hit his first time up. This time this ball is up just enough where he can fight it off. He doesn't have to reach for that ball. He just fights it off and gets it into center field for his second hit. Those hits were sandwiched around a strikeout. Hit number 6.
Pete Walker out to the mound to give Price a little bit of a breather right here. 2 outs. It's been a long inning. It all started with a ground out. Then the Santana walk, and that was a tough at bat for Price. Threw a lot of pitches to Santana.
I think it was a 9-pitch at bat against Santana. Then the double by Rayburn early in the at bat.
Number 9 hitter is Michael Vilas. Price retired him on a changeup his last time up. He flied out to Pilar in center. Ball on the strike. David Price with 9 strikeouts. He had 11 strikeouts in his Blue Jays debut against Minnesota.
4 times he has had double-digit strikeouts this season.
Russell Martin thinking about a pickoff attempt at second.
Sands is getting a big lead out there at second base. He is. It's a big run out there. An add-on run and an insurance run. So with 2 outs, the infield they've got to play deep to knock any ball down. There's nobody around second base. Oh, he's getting a big secondary lead.
Aviles fights it off. Fly ball into shallow center. Pilar calling for it. He gets there and makes the catch. The Indians score 2 in the top half of the 7th. They take a 3-2 lead. Martin, Pilar, and Goins to lead things off against Salazar when we come back.
Canadian high school amateur baseball players with college eligibility. It's Tournament 12 presented by New Era and Roberto Alomar. It goes September 14th through 18th at Rogers Center. And for tickets, visit bluejays.com/T12. And speaking of amateur baseball, we have Team Canada's team from the Little League World Series. They're from Whiteford, BC, and we saw them down on the field before the game. Always fun to have young baseball players at the ballpark to see what the pros look like up close, Buck.
Yeah, Barry, we had a great chance to say hello to all those youngsters. They all raved about the experience they had in Williamsport in the Little League World Series. Great opportunity for them. And tonight they've been entertained to a terrific ball game. Cleveland has a 3-2 lead. Boy, Salazar has been consistent, making quality pitches tonight.
He's been thrown downhill, hasn't he? All night. Just the one inning where the Blue Jays scored a couple of runs against them.
Elevates that fastball. Russell Martin has grounded out twice against Salazar. Josh Donaldson has driven in the only 2 Blue Jay runs that came on a 2-out, 2-run triple. That's a nasty pitch. 9 strikeouts for Salazar. Let's check in again with Jamie Campbell. David Ortiz with his 29th home run of the season in that ball game for Boston. Mookie Betts with a 2-run home run. The home runs are the difference in that ball game for the Red Sox. Kevin Pillar 0 for 2. Left-hander is Brett Cecil. The right-hander is Aaron Sanchez. David Price has gone 7 innings.
Got the top of the lineup coming up, so if the Blue Jays do not score here, we'll probably see Brett Cecil against the left-handers. If they tie it or take the lead, we will probably see Sanchez.
Kipnis, a lefty. Lindor, the rookies, a switch hitter, and then Michael Brantley. So it makes sense. 2 out of the 3 next batters are left-handed. So Brett Cecil more than likely would come in if it stays a 3-2 game. Yan Gomes has done a terrific job with this young pitching staff, and he has truly become the leader behind the plate, encouraging his young pitcher Salazar, just 25 years old.
He had given up 2 runs in the 5th inning, a leadoff single to Encarnacion, and then he pitched out of that trouble. 6-4-3 double play and then a ground out, and that's why you see Gomes cheer him on.
Down the left field line, but that's going to hook foul as Pilar stayed on that off-speed pitch. And we talk about the talent of this pitching staff. All 4 of their starters are under 30 years old, and potentially they're under control until 2020. And Yan Gomes is right in the prime of his career to catch them. Pilar strikes out. 10 strikeouts now.
The all-new 2016 Honda Pilot, proud partner and official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Ryan Goins started the Blue Jays rally in the 5th. They had a 2-out single to center. He scored the first of 2 runs driven in by Donaldson.
Started that rally with 2 outs after Martin and Pilar went down.
Goins has extended his hit streak to 10 straight games. That's a career high for Ryan. Three and 0. Blue Jays hit 11 home runs in the Tigers series. Salazar, a different caliber pitcher than the Blue Jays saw over the weekend.
Yeah, he's got a lot of weapons, and he's been on mark with a lot of them. 10 punch outs tonight. That's one off his career high.
That's a fair ball. Santana with a nice play. Goins is retired. Salazar has done most of the work with 10 strikeouts, but there he gets a nice play from his first baseman Santana to save extra bases.
expert advice on your hockey pool with the Sportsnet Magazine NHL Fantasy Pool Guide. It's available now on newsstands or visit sportsnet.ca/magazine for details. And Buck, it's amazing how many NHL players have become huge Blue Jay fans, whether it be Logan Couture, Steve Stamkos, even our own Nick Kiprios was here at the ball game yesterday. Hockey fans are loving what the Blue Jays are doing right now.
Well, I know the NHL Players Association has the first-round picks in camp for a little orientation. They're in town right now, so Connor McDavid and Jack Eichel and a whole bunch of the first-rounders are probably at the ballpark tonight watching a little baseball as well.
Brett Cecil into the ball game for the 48th time this season. There are the numbers for Brett: 3 and 4, 329 earned run average. Brett last worked 6 days ago. Remember, he came into that tough situation in Texas, second and third, and just won out and got out of it. A game that the Blue Jays would eventually win when they scored 2 runs in the 9th inning. But that one right there, that outing by Cecil might have saved the game for him.
Cecil got Sin-Shu Chu and Prince Fielder to get out of that jam. Jason Kipnis 1-for-3 against David Price. The Blue Jays bullpen, a dramatic turnaround mid-season. They are ranked 4th in the American League in earned run average. Another thing that has been very impressive, their strikeout to walk ratio is the best in the American League.
Whole bunch of strikeout down in that lineup down there.
Power arms, and when they come in, they make quick work for the opposing hitters. Cecil ahead 1-2. Strikes him out. David Price, the starter tonight, gave up a first inning run and then 2 more runs to the Indians in the 7th. So he's on the hook for the loss unless Blue Jays can come back. He threw 109 pitches over those 7 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, a walk, and 9 strikeouts.
And that one walk was a big part of this ball game. It was a 1-out walk to Santana right before the double by Rayburn and then the single by Sands.
Lindor bunts it toward first, and Cecil's going to flip to Smoke, and what a play by Cecil and Smoke. He was about 10 feet away from him when he grabbed it with his glove and flipped it to Smoke. I don't know how Smoke caught that ball.
I don't know. I think that ball caught him. Brett Cecil really falls off the mound towards the third base side, so you can see why they're going to bunt on him. Cecil gets over there, flips it from about 3 feet away with his glove. It's a tough play for the first baseman because he's got to read if that pitcher's going to go over there and catch it or not. But watch how the first baseman backhands that ball, Smoke, to finish off that out at first base.
Justin Smoke can really pick it at first, man. And he didn't have much to go on there. You almost got to react to where you think the ball's going to end up. But Cecil and Smoke teaming up to record out number 2. Michael Brantley takes a first pitch ball. You can still hear the buzz here in Rogers Center after that great defensive play by the pitcher and the first baseman.
Thought that was a base hit all the way, but another good defensive play by the Blue Jays.
Another good inning by Brett Cecil. Just 7 pitches. Cecil is through the 8th. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. Cleveland has a 3-2 lead. Now time for Blue Jays Central Update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zong.
Fans, you can now get Rogers Internet 5 at an everyday low price of $24.99 a month. Modem rental or purchase required. Ask about our other plans that deliver the fastest internet speeds to most Canadians. Call 1-888-ROGERS-1 today. Buck?
Yeah, Branch.
Well, new pitcher into the game is Brian Shaw, and he's making his 58th appearance. I think right now the Blue Jays wouldn't care who comes into the game as long as it's not Danny Salazar pitching anymore.
Salazar was outstanding tonight. He will give way to Shaw. Those 57 games that leads this team in appearances. 3-2, 240 earned run average for Shaw. He's only walked 15 batters this year in his 48 2/3 innings. He also has 17 holds. He's got a good natural cutting fastball that the Blue Jays are going to have to recognize early. But he throws a lot of strikes.
This will be the 4th appearance for Shaw against the Blue Jays this season. They have not scored a run on him. There's a first pitch strike to Ben Revere, leadoff man. Revere is 2 for 3 tonight. A couple of singles. He scored in the 5th. Both balls look like they were off the plate, but it's a 1-1 count. Foul ball. Santana, the first baseman, will go to the bag and beat Ben Revere 1 out. Drive of the game presented by the all-new 2016 Honda Pilot, proud partner and official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
5th inning, 2 outs, a couple of runners on, and the Blue Jays are down by a run. Who do you call? Josh Donaldson. He's going to drive this pitch from Danny Salazar just out of the reach of Abraham Almonte, the center fielder. By the time they run it down, the fans are going to love it because 2 runs are going to score, and Josh Donaldson's going to be at third base with our drive of the game. Boy, what an electric hit that was.
There's that cut fastball that misses down and away. Donaldson is 3 for 5 against Brian Shaw. Another cutter right back to the mound. Nice play by Shaw. He throws high, and Santana is able to get back in time. 2 outs.
Got a lot of movement on that cut fastball. It's hard also. Watch this one. Right off the end of the bat from Donaldson back through the middle. It's cut off by Shaw. Then he throws flat-footed and almost throws it away.
2 outs. Jose Bautista will bat with nobody on. Inside. Shaw has given up 6 home runs this season. This is his 58th appearance, as we mentioned. Bautista fouls it off his foot. Another terrific crowd here tonight. The 14th sellout of the season and 8th straight sellout. 46,643. And a lot of walk-up customers tonight. There are more tickets available for Tuesday night and Wednesday night. Two and one. Hit. Bautista stayed on that pitch. It was away from him. He drilled it into right.
Designated hitter number 10, Edwin Encarnacion.
So Edwin Encarnacion's going to have to wait. The skipper of the Indians, Terry Francona, has popped out of the dugout. Shaw gives up a 2-out single to Bautista. He's done. Cody Allen will come out of the pen. Allen with 27 saves in 30 opportunities, coming on for a 4-out save. Cleveland has gone to the bullpen to give Edwin Encarnacion a new look. It'll be Cody Allen, the closer, 27 for 30.
Terry Francona wants to get a 4-out save, so he brings his closer in here in the 8th inning with a couple of outs. He's got outstanding numbers. He's also got an outstanding curveball. He's 27 for 30 in save chances. That's tied for 8th in the American League, and he's got to face Edwin Encarnacion.
Bautista with a 2-out single. He's at first. He is the tying runner. Brantley trying to cut it off. Bautista's going to go to third. Encarnacion will go to second as they allow that go-ahead run to get into scoring position.
You play the outfield deep if the tying or go-ahead run is at the plate for that reason, so you can cut the ball off. It's called no doubles. Brantley came up and then threw to third base. He had no chance to get Bautista at third. Edwin is thinking double out of the box. It's cut off by Michael Brantley, but for some reason he throws to third. No chance there. And that's going to allow Edwin to get to second base. The go-ahead run. You can see that's just too long of a throw to get Bautista.
Tulowitzki doubled in the 4th. They're going to put him on. They're going to put Tulowitzki on. Justin Smoke came into the game defensively in the 7th. with the Blue Jays. That's just the 8th intentional walk issued to the Jays all season.
And it doesn't happen very often where a right-handed relief pitcher will intentionally walk a right-handed batter to face a left-handed batter. I think you got to get to Cody Allen before he gets to that curveball. It's a good one. It's a good sharp breaker, so be ready to swing early in this count.
Smoke with 45 RBIs. Well, he had a good cut. 96 down and away. Smoke had a big game on Saturday. A pair of doubles and 3 walks. Uses that curveball a lot, and he may bounce it.
That's why Jose's got to take a big lead over there at third base.
Fastball upstairs. Smoke hit a grand slam in New York against the Yankees. Blue Jays have hit 6 grand slams this season. Smoke strikes out. The Blue Jays leave the bases loaded. We'll go to the 9th. It's a 3-2 Indians lead. What a ball game. David Price on the bench cheering his teammates on. The Indians will bat the top of the 9th with a 1-run lead. It's 3-2 Cleveland, and the new pitcher into the game is the veteran LaTroy Hawkins.
Hawk is the oldest active player in the major leagues. He's got 1,035 appearances. That's the most among active players, obviously. 36th game this season, split between Colorado and Toronto. He will face 4-5-6 for the Indians.
Santana, Rayburn, and Yan Gomes. Santana had a big walk-off of Price with 1 out in the 7th. He came around to score the tying run. Strike 2. Santana, switch hitter, batting right-handed for the first time against Hawkins just into the ball game. We're in the 9th. 3-2 ball game. Strike 3 called. LaTroy Hawkins paints that inside corner.
Boy, I love that comeback fastball, especially against a guy who's up there, you know, with a great eye. 2 strikes. Watch this thing come right back over the inside corner. You start it right at that belt buckle, and you end up with the strikeout.
Pinch hitter for Ryan Rayburn is Jose Ramirez. Ramirez batting .201 for the season. So fly ball to left, Ben Revere backing up. He's got plenty of room right on the edge of the warning track. 2 down. Brett Cecil had a terrific inning in the 8th. 3 up, 3 down. He contributed to that great inning with a fine defensive play. He and Justin Smoke combined on a great 1-3 put out of Francisco Lindor. Yan Gomes, he's 0 for 3 with a strikeout. 2 strikeouts, takes a first pitch strike. Base hit on an 0-2 pitch. Yan Gomes stayed on that fastball and hit it into right. His first hit of the night.
That's what he does. He just takes that ball, especially with 2 strikes, and serves at the right field. And now we'll get another pinch hitter for the Indians.
Lonnie Chisenhall comes off the bench. He's going to bat for Jerry Sands. .264 for Chisenhall for the season. Hawkins got a little better fastball tonight. And he's locating.
Yeah, he's pounding that fastball in there. Very aggressive. Last outing was in Texas. Just 2/3 of an inning, he got a hit. He ended up winning that ball game on the 27th.
Ground ball. Donaldson tips it into center field. Gomes is going to go toward third. Hawkins is there, and it's over his head, and it bounces out of play. And Gomes is going to come in to score, and the runner at second will go to third. As Donaldson turned and fired, Hawkins was there, but the throw was high. And it went off his glove and bounced into the Blue Jays dugout.
That's going to make things a little bit more difficult. Right off of his glove, you see Tulowitzki, he was going to make that play. But Donaldson tries to cut him off, and in his haste to get that ball over to third base, overthrows LaTroy Hawkins. And when a player throws a ball out of play like that, it's 2 bases. So 1 run scores, and the batter Chisenhall goes all the way to third base.
It's a hit for the pinch hitter Chisenhall in the air charge to Donaldson. Donaldson's 18th error of the season. This is Abraham Almonte. He too is a switch hitter. Goes after the first pitch. It's 4-2 Cleveland. Yan Gomes with a chew out single to right. Scores on the throwing error by Donaldson. Popped up. Russell Martin, the catcher, over toward the Blue Jays dugout. That'll end the inning. But the Indians get an insurance run in the top of the ninth. Russell Martin will start things off for the Blue Jays. Then Kevin Pillar and Ryan Goins. Blue Jays are down by 2. David Price, the starter in this ball game, was at the top step to welcome the defense back into the dugout as they get prepared to hit in the bottom of the ninth. It's a 4-2 Cleveland lead. Lonnie Chisenhall takes over in right field defensively. He had a pinch hit off the glove of Donaldson. Cody Allen threw 10 pitches. Closing out the 8th, gave up a double to Encarnacion, intentional walk to Tulowitzki, and struck out Justin Smoke. Martin, Pillar, and Goins, bottom third of the Blue Jays order. Ball 2.
You mentioned 10 pitches to get 1 out. Here are the numbers for Russell. Has only faced him one time. This is where you got to grind it right here. Get that lead runner on. Make things a little bit difficult.
Martin fouls it off. Russell had a leadoff walk on Tuesday in Arlington. And Blue Jays were down in that ball game. They would eventually score 2 runs in the 9th off the closer, Sean Donaldson. The Yankees are losing in Boston. Popped into the seats. 2-2. Blue Jays need a base runner. Russell protects that plate. Fouls off the breaking pitch.
Yeah, he's got an idea that he's going to try and get him with that hard breaking ball. Just fouls it off.
The Indians pitchers have struck out 11 Blue Jays tonight. Salazar had 10. Allen struck out Smoke to end the 8th. Fly ball to right. Chisenhall broke back, recovers and makes the catch. 1 out. Now for a preview of what's coming up on Sportsnet Central. Here's Ken Reed and Ivanka Osmak. Thank you very much, Ken. That's all coming up right after this ball game. Kevin Pillar takes strike 1. Cleveland has won 5 straight games. They're 1 shy of their season high. 6 in a row. Pillar singles into center field. They just kind of served it out there on a breaking ball. That'll get the tying run to the plate.
He's got a good breaking ball, and he gets a lot of strikeouts. He's second in American League in relief strikeouts with 82. Look at the spin on that curveball, and Pillar somehow gets wood on the ball. Gets it into the outfield.
Kevin Pillar hit a curveball for a home run on an 0-2 pitch yesterday. So he picked up that spin and just went with it. Ryan Goins 1 for 3 with a run scored. Went around. 0-1. Ball in the dirt, blocked by Gomes.
Curveball, you got to see that ball up. He's got so much break on it. If that's about belt high, I think you got to let that ball go. It's going to break out of the strike zone.
Right on the inside corner, 1-2. Revere has 2 hits tonight. 2 balls and 2 strikes. No one has left 46,643. Hoping for a 9th inning comeback.
Gotta get another runner on right here. Turn this lineup over.
Full count. Goins with a 2-strike single to left.
Earlier in the year, he doesn't get a hit on that pitch. He swings through it or he pops it up, but he's made the adjustment. That time he just serves it out into left field, and they do turn that lineup over. That's plate coverage right there with 2 strikes. Watch where this pitch is. It's too close to take. You can't do it. Just serves it out there, stays on top of it, and just dumps it into left field to keep the inning alive.
Back to the top of the order. Pilar and Goins. Back-to-back 1-out singles. Revere goes after the first pitch. He doesn't do that very often, but he got a good pitch to hit.
He likes to survey that pitcher a little bit. That time with runners on, it looked like he was trying to end it with one swing.
Revere is a contact hitter. Doesn't strike out much. Pops this one up. It's playable. Levinas over near the seats makes the catch.
Third baseman, number 20, Josh Donaldson.
Donaldson has driven in the only Blue Jay runs of the night. The outfield is deep. Donaldson has 6 walk-off home runs. He has 99 career home runs. Breaking ball. 1-2.
Yeah, that's his best pitch right there. That good, sharp, hard breaking ball. And you got to make contact.
The Blue Jays left the bases loaded in the 8th. Donaldson strikes out. Allen picks up the save, and the Blue Jays lose 4-2 in the opener of this 3-game series. They stranded the bases loaded in the 8th and leave 2 on in the 9th.
Told you it's going to be tough with Danny Salazar pitching, and the Indians, they're a feisty bunch. Blue Jays had their opportunities, couldn't come through with the big base hits. They will try and even the series tomorrow night against this tough Cleveland team.
Blue Jays lose the first game of 3. Cleveland has won 6 in a row. Stay tuned. Here's Sportsnet Central. Ken and Ivanka. We'll see you tomorrow night.